So before Fabio mentioned some figures, 5, 6, 7,000 rare diseases, depending on how you count them. Those that we know of, so there are probably more. And one interesting aspect is they're called also orphan diseases. My sense is they're called orphan diseases mostly because they're orphan of research, orphan of funding, orphan of solutions, and orphan of public policies. We've been addressing this for 25 years now at NORD. And I want to have a sense from you of what has happened in these 25 years and what has been achieved and whether things are speeding up or not.
It's true. This is our 25th anniversary at NORD, and NORD stands for National Organization for Rare Disorders. It was formed by the leaders of rare disease patient groups in the United States in 1983 after they got a certain piece of legislation passed, and that was called the Orphan Drug Act. It was given that name because these diseases are like orphaned children. They have no parents, nobody who's sort of guiding them through the process of research. And for many years, the people who had these diseases were just alone and feeling very isolated. So some of the patient organizations representing some of the diseases like Huntington's disease, Tourette syndrome, cystinosis, these patient groups were very instrumental in the United States in getting this very important law passed. And just to give you a sense of how successful it's been, in the 10 years before 1983, when the law was passed, only 10 new products were brought to market for rare diseases. And in the 25 years since then, there have been more than 1,700 products that are investigational, that have been designated orphan products because they're for rare diseases. And of that number in the US, more than 320 have been approved by our Food and Drug Administration for marketing. So in most cases, these are treatments for people who had no treatment at all until that time. So this drug has been very important. It works by providing financial incentives so that the companies who are willing to make the investment in research, it's a tremendous investment to bring a new product to market. And to be willing to be able to do that, the companies have to be able to recover that money afterward. And so this law makes that possible through certain financial incentives. And actually, after it became apparent that the law in the United States was so successful, in either 1999 or 2000, the European Union adopted similar legislation. It uses a slightly different definition of rare, but it's quite similar. And I think it's also been very successful there. There are a few Asian countries that also have similar legislation now, and there are other countries around the world that are moving in that direction.
There was a couple of months ago, there was the first World Rare Disease Day. And it happened on a rare day, the 29th of February. But it was a way to try to raise awareness. I suspect it will happen every year in any case. But my question is, we mentioned before the figures, several dozen million people with rare diseases. So there's a paradox there. The diseases are rare, but rare disease patients have actually many. Do you have a sense that the awareness of this is starting to become real, or people still don't see this phenomenon?
It's starting to become real. It still certainly has a way to go, and you've mentioned raising awareness. Fabio, I believe, used that phrase, and that's certainly something that we try to do at NORD. We connect with patient organizations around the world. There are many others. I believe there are now thought to be 30 million people in Europe affected by rare diseases. And in the United States, our National Institutes of Health used to say that there were 6,000 diseases affecting 25 million Americans. I've been with NORD for 9 years now. those were the numbers they were using at the time I joined. It's now up to almost 30 million Americans and almost 7,000 diseases. As a result of continued research, they're realizing that some things that they thought were one disease are actually more than one. And what the patient community has learned is that alone, we don't speak with a very loud voice, and nobody's going to be listening because it seems not quite so important because it doesn't affect a lot of people. But when we speak together, we speak with a much louder voice, and we're able to accomplish things in terms of helping researchers, encouraging the research on our diseases, and encouraging advocacy, in our case in Washington, D.C., encouraging, for instance, funding for rare disease research. Every year at budget time, the people from NORD are down there speaking to the Congress, encouraging more research for these very important studies. There's still many, many diseases that have no treatment at all. So we very much appreciate what the people at Mondobiotech and at the other innovative companies are trying to do, and we certainly want to help that in any way we can.
So how do you look from your standpoint at a place like this that wants to become a world center to bring together the best minds and the best ideas?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I've been thinking about that the past few days. One thing that has occurred to me is that there definitely is a spiritual component to what we do. When I come to work in the morning, I have many, many emails from people, mostly in the U.S., but from around the world, from third world countries. Often it's parents who have a sick child, because many of these diseases are genetic diseases that people are born with and have throughout their lives. In many cases, they are not necessarily diseases that will result in death, but they're chronic, lifelong, very disabling conditions. And so these are people dealing with real adversity in their lives. And we're not affiliated with any particular religion, but we certainly see the value of people having some sort of spiritual connection and being able to see the bad things that have happened in their lives as not necessarily just some random events, but something that's part of a bigger purpose, and that gives the families, I think, strength to be able to do what they have to do to help their loved one who's sick, and find some way to make something positive come out of something that's very sad.
You mentioned that many rare diseases are of genetic origin. Actually, most of them are of genetic origin. This is a biotech company, so there's an attempt to have that advance into it. But also, genetics and biotech have advanced by leaps and bounds over the last few years. That means that responses to diseases have also done leaps and bounds.
Yeah, and actually one thing that's being said in the United States now is we talk about this 25th anniversary of the Orphan Drug Act and the 25th anniversary of NORD. The Orphan Drug Act really is what gave the impetus to start the biotech industry. And in the U.S., it has grown tremendously since then. And it's really the place where so much very interesting and hopeful research is happening now. And so we try to help that as a patient community by, for instance, connecting the researchers and the patients with rare diseases. The patients, there aren't very many patients, and they may be scattered around the world. So we use the communications means that we have to help researchers and patients find each other so that they're able to do statistically valid studies.
Thank you, Mary.